You're watching The Business of Law, brought to you by Bloomberg Law and the ABA Journal. I'm Lee Pacchia. My guest today is one of the longest-serving hiring partners at a Wall Street law firm. He's Jay Grushkin, and he's partner at Milbank Tweed, based here in New York City. We're happy to have him with us. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Lee.
So I thought we were going to talk about structured finance today, but this hiring business, it's awfully important stuff. If you get the size or quality of an incoming class wrong, it can create havoc for a law firm, as I'm sure you know. What does your internal process in terms of figuring out your hiring needs look like?
Well, Lee, it's a complicated process, but it basically begins with our hiring committee sitting down with our executive committee. Mm-hmm. And our hiring committee in New York is comprised of 4 partners, and we are not full-time recruiters. We are all busy practitioners. Mm-hmm. And we sit down during the year with our executive committee and determine what we think our needs are going to be. And the complicated factor is 2 years down the road. And that is the tricky factor in dealing with law firm recruiting, in that you're making decisions that basically are covering your staffing needs for 2 years plus down the road.
Yeah, and that's why I think this is such a fascinating topic, because as you said, you guys aren't exactly recruiters. What does your time split look like? How many hours in your day, just averaged out over a yearly basis, how much is devoted to your practice and how much is devoted to the task of figuring out the hiring needs of a large law firm?
Well, because we try to run at Milbank our recruiting process like a business, we do have 4 partners that are hiring partners, and when my litigation partners on the committee are busy, I can pick up the slack and vice versa. But I would say on average, less than you would think, probably about 5% of our time is devoted to recruiting, and that tends to be heavier in the summer when we have our summer classes in, and in the fall when we're on campus and recruiting at the firm.
Right. One of the things that I find so interesting about this space, law firms have profession-specific standards governing how they can recruit law students. How much does NALP's principles and standards for recruitment impact your world?
It impacts it significantly. We, as all major law firms, follow the NALP guidelines, as do the schools. And the guidelines include a set period of time by which, once you make an offer to a second-year law student, they essentially have 28 days to respond to that offer. And that 28-day ticking period has created a very challenging environment for law firms. I would even call it a form of organized chaos.
Yeah, 28 days is not a long time to figure out such a monumental decision.
Correct. And what happens is, as you know, our hiring decisions for summer associates, who turn into our permanent associates, involves essentially 20 minutes on campus, and then 2 hours if they're invited back. And that's a short period of time in which to make decisions. And on top of it, what used to be a 3-month-long process that we spread out through the fall for recruiting has now been compressed into essentially a 4 to 6 week process where, believe it or not, Milbank is going to be on 4 days during the middle of August on 11 campuses interviewing over 700 students.
Yeah, that's a compressed time frame. How did this situation come to pass?
Well, it's interesting. Early, around 2000, when the market really started to pick up, what happened was that the schools started to recognize that, well, unless I am kind of out there early, the firms may start making offers at other schools, and the result of that would be that maybe they would start filling up whatever quotas they think they have, and the schools that were recruiting later on in the season would be disadvantaged. So what happened was, take a step back for a second. Law firms realized that if you're going to law school X, the earlier you get there, the easier it's going to be, because the best and the brightest tend to get picked off. So all of the law firms, instead of being spread out over 12 weeks, started to push the schools, why don't you compress your schedule into a very tight period of time? So what used to be, 6, 8, 12 weeks is now down to a week or several days, so that all of the law firms come into law school X at the same time, can extend their offers, so no one is disadvantaged if they were going to be late in the season. Okay, we could work with that. But what happened was, and we could work with that because, all right, we'd go to law school X, in early September, then another in mid-September, and it was pretty well organized. When the market began to decline, though, the law firms and the law schools in particular began to realize that if they were not early in line, they would have trouble, with the early crop and having their best and brightest picked by the law firm. So let's go back to law firm X. Law firm X is extending offers, and in early September, 28 days. So if you have an offer at the end of September, you're going to either accept it or reject it. If you haven't received offers from other law firms, obviously you're going to you're going to be compelled to accept that offer. At the same time, though, when the market started to turn, and particularly when the credit crisis hit during September, October 2008, what happened was there were a number of law schools that weren't even yet having OCI when Lehman collapsed and the whole world seemed to be caving in. And they were caught in a situation where the law firms became nervous that they had a lot of offers outstanding, and they didn't want to extend any more offers, or a lot of them didn't. And the law schools that were left beyond that point, their students were caught in a difficult situation because the firms kind of froze up and didn't want to extend any offers. So what did the law schools start doing? They started playing hopscotch, so that instead of interviewing, some would do September, some October, some November, they all basically jumped up to the front of the rows, so that now it's all done in mid-August, in the course of about 2 weeks.
It sounds like abject chaos. Is there a quick and easy fix out there, in your opinion?
Without a lot of cooperation, I don't think so. I personally would like to see recruiting, instead of occurring during August before the second year, maybe occurring during January of the second year, so that you have a better sense as a law firm what your business needs are, and you have a better sense as to how the law students are performing because they have an extra semester under their belts.
We were speaking before offline about the dynamics of hiring for a law firm, because that's what cool people do, of course. And you pointed out that since 2008, there's almost no sense of attrition out there. It's just gone. No one in their right mind leaves a law firm associate position willingly. How has that new reality changed things on your end? Do you simply just slash the number of people you're going to bring in every year? What do you do?
You have to manage your input when your output is not declining, and historically, Wall Street firms worked on a business model that had roughly 20-odd% attrition per year.
I mean, you had a cushion there in that 20%.
Right.
I mean, it fluctuated to some degree. That gave you a little bit of margin of error, and it's simply gone now. It seems like it's a much more difficult task.
You're right, and as a result, the incoming classes at all of the large law firms have declined, and if you're to believe the scuttlebutt in the market, they probably are not going to grow back to 2007 and earlier levels anytime in the very near future.
Are you seeing summer associates treat their time with the firm in their summer or their second year differently?
Yes, I think there is there's a greater sense of professionalism, of commitment, a sense that it shouldn't be expected that just because you've achieved X and Y that you're necessarily going to get an offer and progress. Now, the numbers are still largely in favor of summer associates. I don't expect that the offer rates are going to decline because of market gyrations right now. But with the recent events with Weil Gotshal and other firms, people are a little bit more skittish and probably will focus a bit harder on their jobs. Suddenly these jobs seem, very important and very, very attractive.
Even more than before.
Yes.
That said, your firm brought in more summers this year, I think, than last.
Yes.
Why?
I would say that because of the credit crisis, our classes we recruited classes that were smaller than normal. Before the credit crisis, in New York, we tended to bring in 70, 80, sometimes 90 summer associates. After the credit crisis hit, the incoming classes declined to as small as in the 20s. So I think we're playing a little bit of catch-up. Business is good. We need the people. We do want to grow. Do I think that we will sustain this level of growth going forward? No, I think we're probably going to revert to a more normalized level. Not anywhere near 20, but probably not 70 again. Probably somewhere in between in the 50s.
Do you have any idea at this point, on a percentage basis, how many of the summers are going to get offers for next year?
Oh, that's a tough question to ask me. I would imagine that it is no different than any typical summer. So the expectation is that our hiring is very good, and the vast majority of our summer associates will receive offers and will become associates at Milbank Tweed.
Cool. Jay, really interesting stuff. Thank you for stopping by today.
My pleasure, Lee.
That's Jay Grushkin, partner at law firm Milbank Tweed. If you'd like to learn more about the issues we just discussed, be sure to go check out our offerings on BloombergLaw.com and also on the Bloomberg Terminal. You can see more of our updates on Twitter, and of course our videos are on YouTube. I'm Lee Pacchia. Thanks for watching.